Hey, uh, I want to do a response to TonyaTko Hypocrites and what are we hypocrites about. But I think that we use the word too loosely, hypocrite, like very loosely. And and I think we all have a bit of hypocrisy about it. But I want to tell you a story. So I want to define what's hypocrisy. Okay, like I mean, really, is a parent really being a hypocrite when they tell like their child, "Don't be an alcoholic like me"? I mean, they're not practicing what they preach. They're an alcoholic. But the fact that they told their child not to do and not to set the role model, even though they can't set the role model. So basically, they're telling them the truth, even though they can't live up to that standard of truth. But they know it's good for their child, and they love their child, and they don't want their child to be like them because they already know how freaking miserable they are. Okay? So that's my point, is like, how do we define hypocrisy? Let me tell you a little story, right? And because I could really go on about this, but let me tell you a story. I was when I was young, I did a lot of Afrocentric type paintings, and I was in this festival, and there was my next door neighbor lived one house over from me, skip a house, and she was actually black, but she looked white. So and I asked my parent, but my mother told me, and my mother is a very attractive, dark-skinned lady. Even at her age. What else am I gonna say? Okay, all right. So anyway, but this woman was white. I mean, to me, she looked white, and I was like, and my mom was like, no, she's black because of something, something, something in her family. All right. So I also have, people that are, they have black in them, but they look. They look white, okay? But however, you know how that goes, right? So the girl, my point is that the girl was helping me with these big paintings that are very Afrocentric, and I'm an artist, right, coming from Juneteenth. And so there were people walking around, and she was just so kind to help me, right, carry her home, because she lived next to me. And so she grabbed the front and helped me carry her home. And so people are seeing these Afrocentric paintings, yet this white girl helping me carry the paintings home, but in actuality, she was black. So what's the thing they said across the street? They said, oh yeah, he does some nice paintings, and they're very Afro, and they're very black, but he got a white girl with her. He a hypocrite. You know what? Quite honestly, I think we need to be careful of who we call hypocrites, and plus, God says hypocrites too. So that's my point. Is that really, hypocrite is really supposed to be someone who pretends or deceives or try to act like they are holier than thou, and really they just as bad as everybody else, because the Bible says everybody is sinners. But at least these people try. So just like the alcoholic that tells this person, tells their child, do as I say, not as I do, because they know the truth. Okay, they know that this will make your life miserable. You take alcohol and drugs. That's like a crackhead telling you, don't take crack. Are they being hypocritical? But anyway, this is my thing. I think that it is important. Like there's a difference. Jesus said in the Bible, he called the Pharisees, those who put on these big long robes and pray in front of everybody, a hypocrite. Because they put on this and they do all these prayers, and they say the prayers over 1,000 times, and there's no substance to it whatsoever. And they just showing out for the crowd. Okay? So Jesus called them a hypocrite. Somebody who gets up and puts on a big old bandstand, look how holy I am, and do these prayers and go through all these motions so everybody can see them. Okay. You ever see anybody do that in church? They falling out, they all into it, and you know now, and then there's nothing to it, you know. So they're doing it to put on a show and to make you think more of them. So I think that is more of a hypocrite, you know, and in the sense of also Jesus. So you know they try to deceive, they try to pretend, they try to put the. It's a difference between that and somebody who says, "Well, this is the truth." You know, look, you know, I don't always live up to it, but it's still the truth. You know, so I mean, I think there's a lot of integrity in that. I really do. I say, you know, I'm not perfect, but I do know the truth. I know who and what is, you know, and so there's a difference with that, and somebody who just genuinely believe that, regardless if they can't keep it up all the time or live up to the standard, and that is more than likely because God says we are all sinners. So the person who says they're perfect and pretends they're the ones that are really the hypocrites, you know, because you know the Pharisees and stuff like that dragged the woman in front of Christ and said, "Look, this woman is a sinner. She is an adulteress. We should stone her for her sins." And then Jesus bent down and wrote all these sins, and the men who were trying to stone a woman in the ground, he wrote it. He didn't say nothing. He just wrote down all the sins, didn't air it out there for everybody. No, you know, just said, you know, look, you know, who you talking to? You know, and so they saw what their sins was, and then he said, "Those who without sin cast the first stone." Okay, and so they all walked away, and he said to the woman, "Where's your accusers?" And she said, "No." Jesus literally said, "Take out the plank out of your eye before trying to take the splinter out of somebody else's." And so that is my my approach with what I generally, that's the problem with it. And that is, I think, the best thing is like to say like, that basically says it all. So it's like, once you get your eyes straight, then you can see clearly. Once you take the plank, which is bigger than their splinter anyway, it's like a whole log in your eye and the splinter in theirs. Once you take the plank out of your eyes, then you'll see, take your plank out of your eye first, then you'll see clearly enough to take the splinter out of somebody else's eye. Okay, but usually people who who are hypocrites are usually trying to accuse somebody else. And so that tends to happen right away whenever you speak about God. It's like, oh, okay, you spoke about God, but and I would quite be very honest with you. I speak about God a lot, and I don't particularly enjoy that I do. It's just that that's what I believe. I'm not trying to justify myself, but this is like what I'm thinking and all of that stuff. Somebody asked me to be a preacher, and I told them no when I was a kid. I'm like, no way. I'm an artist, and I'm gonna be an artist, and whatever. But that's the thing, is like, but here's the hypocrisy to me, is like everybody in the Bible says the truth. And I believe that's the truth. I believe that's the standard, whether I like it or not, whether I can live up to that standard or not. The truth don't change. And so I can know the truth, but it's only if, I think hypocrisy is if you say, I'm holy, I'm without sin, and I can tell you I'm not. And I always say, like, hey, I got my problems too, I'm very clear and I can see what those problems are. But if I can still help somebody else, it's people that don't know the truth at all, and they don't know it. And I think that you don't do a disservice to them if you tell them the truth, whether you can live up to it or not. Sometimes I just really feel like, I think hypocrisy is when a thief can say like, look, yeah, I'm a thief, could say, and this is how they call you. Oh, you got your problems too. Don't talk about nobody else, you know. But if it says it's the truth, and everybody can say a thief is the truth, a thief is a sinner, a murderer is a sinner, this is a sinner, that person is a sinner, adulteress is a sinner, a fornicator is a sinner, and everybody say I know, but as soon as you get to this other sexual sin, then it's like, no, we're not sinners. And the problem with that is then you can't be forgiven, and that's the only problem. You know, there's no difference. All sin is the same. So, anyway, God bless you all. Love you all.